So I'd like to talk to you in this video about the biggest lie in the universe, and that lie exists in your own mind. So essentially it's a false image that's been created by your own thoughts of who you are and what reality is. So it's this false image that we are so part of, that we've so much invested ourselves in without even realizing it, that it completely dictates how we see reality, how we experience reality. So this lie in our mind about who we are in relationship to the rest of the universe, the rest of the cosmos, the rest of our immediate world, this idea we have is totally wrong, and it's a lie. It's a lie that we've convinced ourselves of because it's convenient in some way. So the most important thing that we can possibly do, first and foremost, is to look past this misunderstanding so that we can see what is true. It's essential that we see what is true, because then we understand what part we have to play in this world, what our role is, why we are here. It's all very clear. It all becomes crystal clear when you look past this misunderstanding, or the many misunderstandings we have, but this fundamental misunderstanding about the nature of reality and how we relate to it, our relationship with reality, or our relationship to everything. So we have to free ourselves from that misunderstanding. And I can't put into words what we'll discover. I can't put into words the truth that we'll perceive when we untangle ourselves from that lie, when we free our mind from that lie. It's impossible for me to describe what we will see and perceive and experience, because it's beyond words. And our biggest problem is that we've gotten used to understanding everything through the intellectual mind, which means the mind which uses words and images to categorize reality. And you cannot categorize reality, because as soon as your mind tries to categorize, it's taken into a different realm. Your mind goes into the realm of category. It goes into this realm of control and order and structure, which isn't real. It's completely unrelated to what you could call the ultimate truth, spiritual truth, or you could even call it divine truth. That world of compartmentalization and conceptual understanding is, how can I put this? It's a completely different reality. Yet our mind takes us there over and over and over again, all day long. In fact, it keeps us there. Most of us live in that reality, which is built of thoughts. And because we completely misunderstand ourselves, because we've completely created a false self through all of our thoughts about who we are, all our beliefs about who we are, because we've created this false self that we believe is true, and which is how we see ourselves, this false self makes us behave in a completely distorted and dysfunctional way. Because our entire reality is built upon this fundamental foundation of who we are, and that can't be changed. That's how we exist, by having this fundamental understanding of who we are, and then relating to the world from that fundamental understanding. And all our needs and desires come from that fundamental understanding of who we think we are. But if that's wrong, if we fundamentally misunderstand who we are and what relationship we have with everything, with reality itself, if we have that misunderstanding, then we are living a complete lie. We've invested ourselves in a lie, which is this false belief of who we are, and then we are living from that lie, which makes us completely at odds with the universe, completely in a state of, how can I put it, disconnection and disharmony from the entirety of reality. If you could only understand how we are divided from truth by our mental misunderstanding of who we are, what we are, what life is, our fundamental misunderstanding, which is based on thoughts. It's very important to understand that all our misunderstandings are based on thoughts, not because we've got the wrong thoughts, but because we're thinking. Full stop. Because we're thinking, we cannot perceive the world in this place which is beyond thought, a place where thoughts aren't needed. We have to go to that place where thoughts aren't needed, to be in that space where we're beyond thinking, beyond thoughts, where we're just unconfined and unrestricted, and we're not trying to categorize and compartmentalize, and we're not trying to understand. That's the most important thing. We're not trying to understand anything. Our desire to understand things leads to all the misunderstandings. In fact, it leads to the most fundamental misunderstanding. Our desire to understand things. Because we have a desire for knowledge. We have a desire to understand because it makes us feel safe. It's almost like going to a foreign territory, and the first thing you want is a map, because you don't know if this territory is safe, and you've heard that it's dangerous. Maybe you've been convinced that it's not a safe place to be, and you need a map. You convince yourself that if you've got a map, then you can navigate your way from all the dangers, and that you'll be in control and you'll be safe. And that's how we live our life in this world. Our knowledge is our map. Our understandings are our map. What we think we understand about reality, what we think we understand about how we can stay in control and how we can manipulate the world, how we can manipulate our reality. And so we create this false perception which helps us to stay in control, or which necessitates that we take control and stay in control, because this false perception is deeply insecure. It's built on sand. You know, this metaphor of building your house on the rock or building your house on sand. So this building our identity on this false understanding of who we are is like building everything, your entire universe, your entire world, being built on sand, because it's untrue. And the truth will always fall down. The truth will always come crashing down. And so when we build our life on mistruths, misunderstandings about what is real, when we build our life upon that, then our life will come crashing down. Or what we think is our life will come crashing down, along with those false kind of insubstantial foundations. Those foundations will crumble, and with them, what we think is our life, what we think is our identity, will also come crumbling down, because it's been built on this insubstantial material. And the good news is that even though this seems to be crumbling down, everything seems to be falling apart and deteriorating, it's not actually who you are. It's a misunderstanding. So it's a false self, and the false self will appear to be coming apart at the seams, and we'll try and grip on tighter and tighter so we can feel more secure, so we can feel like we can find something safe to hold on to amidst this complete chaos and destruction, or what seems to be chaos and destruction, but it's actually what needs to occur in our life, the most important thing that has to occur in our lives, which is that this false idea of who we are, this false self, disintegrates and no longer influences us, no longer clouds our vision, and that false self disintegrates, and we are left with truth, we are left with reality, we are left with something so profound and so familiar, so deeply familiar in our heart, but not in our mind, but in our heart, something so deeply familiar that we are completely relieved of all our anxiety, relieved of all our worry, relieved of all our insecurity. Straight away, all of that vanishes if we let the false self dissolve, rather than trying to hold it together, rather than trying to stay in control and keep this illusion strong in our minds, which is actually impossible. We can't stick it together with super glue and hope this illusion holds tight, because it won't. Because it's how can I put this? it's being destroyed along with the old world. The old world is this, you could say, the world of the mind. The intellectual world which is built from understanding, which is built upon mental knowledge and mental sophistication and the acquisition of knowledge and understanding. That old world, which is what has informed our society, what's made our society the way it is, people driven by that desire to understand and to kind of build a society, build a world based on being in control and meeting our needs and us being in charge of our destiny, which we are not. We are not in charge of our destiny. And the only way we can see what really is in charge of our destiny is to let the false self dissolve. We are part of something so big, so great, so magnificent, and so familiar, so intrinsic to who we are, something that's part of us and that we're a part of. And the only way we can remember that part of ourselves, who we are and how we relate to this truth, the only way we can remember is to let go of all the illusions. Let go of the false ideas, the false self, which is constructed by thought, which means we have to let go of all our understandings. And this is the hardest challenge that humanity faces right now, is that we are being called to let go of all our understandings about who we are. On a personal, individual level, we have to do that individually. We can't do it collectively. Individually, you and I, individually, must look at ourselves and be willing to let something emerge that wants to emerge. Something wants to be set free. And it's essentially, well, I can't put it into words, but something wants to be set free, but we're controlling it and stopping it and preventing it from being set free because we don't want our misunderstanding, we don't want our false self to come crumbling down because it's scary. When all our security is invested and built upon this false self, and then that false self starts crumbling, then we feel insecure. We feel scared. We want to try and stay in control desperately because all our security is built on this thing that seems to be deteriorating. So it's very important you understand this, so you can trust that it's safe to let go and let this thing deteriorate. That if the false self, false idea of who you are, this false image of who you are, as it deteriorates and seems to be coming apart at the seams, you have to trust that something else is emerging. Something else is being reborn. And it's something, it's what you're looking for. It's what you want. It's what you truly, truly want on the deepest level. It's what you're truly looking for. It's everything you need. It's what you've been dreaming and hoping for all your life, and it wants to emerge, but you have to allow the false self to crumble and stop trying to invest in it, stop trying to stay in control, stop trying to understand, stop trying to see or believe or guess what's going to happen in the future. Stop trying to predict, or stop trying to convince yourself or allow yourself to be convinced, especially by the media. Stop allowing yourself to be convinced of what's going to happen in the future, because you have no idea what's going to happen in the future. I promise you, you have no idea. Now you can convince yourself, and the media has convinced a lot of us, of what the future holds, and it's not particularly bright. However, that is a hypnosis. And if you believe in that hypnosis, then you will be gripped by fear. And essentially, you will desperately try and hold on to any security that you can possibly find. And that can come in many ways. It can come in physical ways like food and material needs and building walls around yourself and so on and so forth. Or it can come on the mental level, the psychological level, where we desperately try and convince ourselves that we're right, or desperately try and convince ourselves that if we just do this, then we'll be safe and everything will be okay. We have to understand that we're wasting our time. We have to understand that we do need to let go. There's no alternative but to let go of everything you think is real, everything you think is true. And I'm talking about on the psychological level. You have to let go on the psychological level of knowledge, of understanding, of information. Every thought is a lie. Because you don't need those thoughts to be in touch with reality. You don't need those thoughts to be connected to reality and to perceive reality. All those things, all that experience of being connected and at one with reality, which is your destiny and what you're looking for, that experience does not require thought. In fact, thought is interference. Thought interferes with you experiencing your destiny, your connection, your union with truth, with love, with goodness, because that is what awaits you, complete union with truth, love, and goodness. And I can't say more than that, because you have to experience what it does in your heart and how it transforms your awareness and transforms your perception. You have to experience that for yourself. But what I can do, and I think the most useful thing I can do, is to tell you what obscures that, what stands in the way of you experiencing that, what is getting in the way, and it's thoughts. And I could be more specific and say negative thoughts, but that's not true. All thoughts create misunderstanding, create they feed a mental picture. And reality is not a mental picture. It's like jumping in the ocean. You've got to jump in the ocean. You can't watch a film, you can't listen to a song or a poem or read a book about jumping in the ocean. We can do all those things and think we understand. And that's what most of us do. We think we understand everything. We want to understand everything. We want to understand spiritual reality. We want to understand God and truth and the most profound things we want to understand. And philosophers have been trying to do that for thousands of years, but it cannot happen. We cannot understand, because in the act of trying to understand, we take ourselves in the wrong direction, away from truth, away from union with truth, into this realm of mental concepts and knowledge and understanding. And the mind fights this. The mind hates this. The mind hates being told it has to let go of understanding. It's because it's addicted. The mind is so deeply addicted to knowledge and understanding, mental understanding. And, if you just try meditating for 1 minute, you can see how hard it is for the mind to let go of thoughts, to be willing to let go of the realm of thinking and just be silent and still and empty. You can see how the mind kind of kicks its feet and screams when you encourage it, or when you move towards silence, when you move towards stillness in your mind, when you turn your back on thoughts and you lose interest in thoughts and you more move in the direction of just being quiet, enjoying the space in your mind, enjoying having emptiness in your mind, like the sky, the sky with no clouds, where the sun is shining. And as that sun shines down on you from that clear sky, where there are no thoughts, no clouds, as that sun shines down on you, you feel the warmth in your heart. You've heard the phrase, as above, so below. Well, this is very much the case with spiritual reality, that when the clouds of thought part and they disappear, and we allow those clouds just to drift away, then we perceive the sun, the light shining in our mind. Our mind is a bright place. It seems like illuminated, bright place. And then at the same time, we feel the sun in our heart. We feel the sun bringing warmth to our heart, just like the sun brings warmth to the ground. The ground gets warm, and we feel the heat reflected off the ground when the sun shines down on a sunny day. And exactly the same way, our heart, we feel the warmth in our heart when that sun is shining, that truth. We feel the warmth in our heart, and that is, I don't want to use the word reality, but that is so much closer. That, in fact, that is what you're meant to experience. That is what you are designed to experience. That warmth in your heart, which is love, is what you're meant to be. It's meant to be your predominant experience on a day-to-day basis, is feeling that love in your heart, feeling that warmth. And it's our thoughts which come across and cover they cover the sun. We allow the thoughts, in fact we invite the thoughts back into the blue sky, and we allow the sky to be filled with thoughts, and they cover the sun. And then the warmth can no longer be felt in our heart. And we get tangled up in these complex clouds, our mind gets lost in the fog, in the mist, inside these clouds, because the clouds are full of information, which we've been convinced is important, but it's not. What's important is the warmth that the sun creates in our heart when the clouds are allowed to dissipate and the sun shines down, and that warmth, the love in our heart, that is the most important thing that you experience. And it's what you should be aiming to experience on a day-to-day basis. And that's, I guess, why so many people meditate, and why meditation has been part of spirituality since the beginning of time. Because in meditation, we are allowing the clouds to float away. We're saying, okay, I'm going to sit and I'm going to watch the clouds. I'm going to consciously decide to let the clouds move away. I'm not going to pull them back. I'm not going to get inside the clouds and get involved with the clouds. I'm going to let them move away, fade away, blow away. And that's another way of seeing how the breath enables us to clear our mind. It's like the wind blowing the clouds away. And then the sun shines through and our heart feels the warmth. So this is essentially meditation in a nutshell, that we watch our thoughts. We allow the wind to blow our thoughts away, the wind of our breath. Our thoughts gradually drift away, and then the sun shines through from this blue, clear, magnificent sky, and the sun shines down upon our heart, and we feel the love that we've been looking for. We encounter the love that we've been searching for, and it's right here in us, and it always has been, all of the time. Except we've been almost permanently distracted, living in the world of thoughts, living in the clouds, unaware of our heart, unaware that our heart needs this sunlight, and it needs that warmth. And that's what we need, and we're designed for that. We've forgotten that we're designed to experience that. In fact, that is our predominant human experience. It's what we should be experiencing predominantly. It's what we've been built for. And when we feel that warmth and that love and that peace, and our heart relaxes, we stop trying to control. We stop trying to make things happen. We stop trying to understand, most importantly. We stop trying to understand. And we just feel instead. We stop trying to think and understand, and instead we just feel. We just, in this present moment, we relax our body and we just feel the goodness, feel the love that's always there, awaiting our attention. And relax in that space of goodness. Just feeling your body, feeling the love, feeling the warmth flow through your veins, because we belong there. And this is something we can choose whenever we want to, just by taking a few moments to get out of our thoughts, to allow our thoughts to drift away, allow our mind to become clear, so that the sun can shine through it onto our heart. Now, of course, there are many other ways people allow this to happen. People sometimes use thoughts, like thoughts of gratitude. You think of the things you're grateful for, and you feel the gratitude, and you feel that warmth because you've been thinking about things which you're grateful for. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's important to be able to feel that love without needing to use thought. It's important to be able to do that. It's a very important, skill. Because then you don't need the world of intellect. You don't need the world of mind. Essentially, we have to abandon the world of thoughts. Ultimately, we have to abandon, eventually, the world of thoughts. Because we're evolving. Human beings are evolving. And we're changing. And we're changing from being these thought-centered beings to love-centered beings. And it sounds a bit of a hippie New Age cliche, but it's absolutely true. We're moving away. We're transforming from being thought-centered beings into love-centered beings. So that means our heart, the root of our awareness, our attention always rests in our heart rather than in our mind. And I think we can all recognize that most of the time, our attention is resting in our thoughts, because our world stimulates that realm. The media stimulates the realm of thinking. Most of our conversations with other people stimulate the realm of thinking. We're surrounded by information that's encouraging us to think, and it's like a self-perpetuating merry-go-round, and we stay on it and we keep ourselves on it because we continue to engage with thought. So what we have to do, we have to disengage. We have to be able to disengage from thinking, from all thoughts. And when we do so, when we disengage from thinking, we notice that, I don't need them. I'm not completely dependent on thoughts, because you were addicted to thoughts because you thought you needed them. Just like any drug, you think you need it, and you can't bear the idea of not having that drug. And so when you see that you don't need thoughts, in fact, you're better off without all those understandings, that mental realm. You're better off out of that space, out of the mental, intellectual space, because there's something else that you can experience instead, and it's so much better, and it's so much more appealing, and it feels so much more natural and deep and profound than this superficial realm of thoughts. When you see that, then you really start to kind of free yourself from the desire to think and the desire to understand. And that's what we need to do. That is the most important thing. That's freeing ourselves from the addiction. Addiction is the hardest thing for all human beings. It's the hardest thing we have to deal with, because we're hooked on something, and it feels like it's a fight, it's a battle to free ourselves from that thing that we're hooked on, whether it's a drug or it's a substance of some sort, or some activity or something we put in our bodies. It doesn't matter. And even something that goes on in our mind, addictive. Most addictions start in the mind. In fact, of course, all addictions start in the mind, and they just they manifest as some physical need. But really, we're so desperately trying to cling on to some mental security, to feel safe, so that we think we know how to stay in control, but we cannot. As I've said, we cannot stay in control, and this is the challenge that we all face. We have to let go of all control, without exception. We have to let go so that we can see that something else, we're part of something else, and we can surrender our control and let that something else orchestrate this beautiful orchestra that we're part of. Now, of course, we have our instrument to play, our tune to play, but that's our joy, our passion for sharing our unique gift that we've been given. Each one of us have a unique gift, and our passion for sharing that, even though our mind tells us, well, that's a stupid, it's not important, it's not going to make a difference in the world, but we still feel passionately about it. We still feel passionately about sharing this particular gift, or engaging or participating, spending our time, whatever that is. Then that's how we fit into this orchestra, by following this passion to share something. It's a passion to share something. So our journey is to discover what is it that I feel like passionately about sharing, and you focus on that, because we need to focus on something other than our mind. We need to focus on something other than our thoughts. We need something else to put our attention onto, because our attention must be somewhere. Our attention must be somewhere. And most of the time it's on our thoughts. I call them our thoughts, but they're not our thoughts. They're just thoughts. Most of the time our attention is in our mind upon thoughts, focused on thoughts. Now, what we need to do is to simply move our attention so that it's not on thoughts, and it's not in the realm of thought, but it's on something else. It's on this desire to share our passion, which is our fire, and it's our light, our desire to share our passion, our fire, our light, which is our mission, our purpose. And you have it, you have one, and I have one, and we all have one. But we can't know what it is while we're clinging on to this false sense of self. We have to free ourselves from our misunderstanding and then allow ourselves to be moved by this greater force, which is what we're part of. We're part of this greater organism. We're just one cell in this greater organism, and we are moved by that greater organism. And so we have to surrender to that greater organism. Give it any name you want to, but it's good, and it's goodness, and it's love-based. And we surrender ourselves to that and trust that it will guide us in the right direction. Trust that it will move us in the right way, and not be afraid of the way it moves you, not be afraid of the direction it moves you in, but trust that your heart is desperate to share its goodness. Your heart is desperate to share its profound love, and you will be guided and steered towards the best way of doing that. I promise you, that will occur. I promise you that will occur, but you've got to surrender. You've got to give up control. You've got to let go and not fear. Trust. Don't fear. Trust. Relax your heart as often as you can. Breathe. Relax your heart and trust that it's safe to let go. Because the media is poisoning our minds with ideas that it's not safe, that there is danger everywhere, there is danger, imminent danger in the future, and that the future is going to be full of threat. We have to let go of those ideas. Stop believing those lies and trust, because our trust is a self-fulfilling prophecy. A self-fulfilling prophecy. If we don't trust, then that prophecy cannot be fulfilled. I hope you understand that. That's very, very important. If we don't trust, then that prophecy cannot be fulfilled. And it's only through trusting that the prophecy of light, of beauty, of goodness, of victory of the darkness is fulfilled. We have to trust. If we don't trust, if we fear instead, then we will essentially fulfill a different prophecy, which is a prophecy of doom and misery and hopelessness, because we will stay connected to fear, and fear is disintegrating. We are, how could I put it? We're like disconnecting from fear and moving into a different orbit. We've been in the orbit of fear for so long, we've felt this gravitational pull connected to fear. Imagine you're a planet or a moon, and you've been in this orbit of this planet called fear. And now this moon, which is who you are, is moving away from that orbit and moving into a different orbit around a different planet. And that planet is love. And so we are having to stop, kind of let go of this gravitational pull, which we are partly responsible for creating. Let go of this gravitational pull. And that's what pulls us towards this reality of fear. Let go and allow ourselves, through trusting, has to be through trusting, allow ourselves to gravitate towards this new world of love. And that's where we're all destined to be. Well, it's our choice to be there. And that planet is almost like where we belong. It's almost like we can be there if we want to. But we can only get there by trusting, by completely abandoning all fear and all fear-based thinking, and trusting your heart, trusting the love, trusting the goodness. Now, if it helps you to trust God instead, which is just another word for this greater force, this greater organism that we're part of, if it helps you to trust God instead, then that's fine, to use the word God and to understand this form, this force, this greater force as a parental being. It's quite accurate, in fact, to see it that way. But you don't have to. But if it helps you to trust that greater being and surrender to it, then that's very good. It's very good to trust it completely. And do not allow fear into your mind. Not even for 1 second. As soon as you notice your mind is tempted to engage with a fearful thought, as soon as you notice that, bring your mind back to your heart, bring your attention back to your heart, relax your heart, and decide to trust, choose to trust that you are safe. You can say it to yourself if it helps. You can put your hand on your heart and say, I trust I am safe. I will not fear. I trust I am safe. And say that over and over again, especially when you're really anxious or really worried. I will not fear. I trust that I am safe. And do that with your hand over your heart. As often as you want, for as long as you want, I will not fear. I trust that I am safe. And tell yourself this over and over and over again, all the time, until you believe it's true. Because when you believe it's true, it is true. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You've got to believe it. You've got to believe it. I am protected from all fear. I will trust that I am safe. I trust. I will not fear. I trust that I am safe. And just by believing in that, truly, thoroughly, 100% believing that you are safe, that there is no need to fear, that there is nothing to fear, that you will be protected and guided and provided for, by trusting and believing wholeheartedly that that is true, then the prophecy is fulfilled. The vision for you is fulfilled. Because the vision isn't for anybody else. The vision of heavenly vision of light and peace and safety and goodness and eternal peace and fulfillment, that vision must be and can only be fulfilled for you. Forget about anybody else. You can't fulfill it for anybody else. You can just tell them, like I'm telling you, how they can allow that vision to be fulfilled in their own life. You can tell them, just like I'm telling you, how to fulfill that vision. And it's through believing. It's through trusting in the light, trusting in the goodness, trusting that you are safe and protected. You do not need to fear. Relax your heart. Open up your heart to the light. Relax in the presence of the light, the goodness, the love. Relax in its presence. And know this is real. Know this goodness is real. Know this love is real. Does it matter where it comes from? Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. Because you're just designed to feel it. That's how you connect to it. This greater organism, this greater being, it can't be understood conceptually because it has no form. It cannot be understood. The only way you can understand it is to feel it. And that's how you connect to it, and that's how you become one with it. That's how you understand it. It's by feeling it. We understand by feeling. We understand the most important thing, the most profound thing in the universe by feeling it. And that's what connects us to it. And then we perceive what is real. Then we perceive the true self, which isn't divided. It's not fractured. It's not separated in any way. It's one. It's one, and we are part of that one. And you don't need to understand that. You need to experience it. You need to feel it. It's through feeling that we realize that we are part of that one. Because it's a feeling being. It's a feeling organism, like your body. And we feel our connection with that greater organism. We become part of that greater organism by feeling it, by feeling our connection to it.